as team members are more fulfilled, they're happier and ultimately more effective.
Welcome to another episode of Friday Five with Dave Adams. We're continuing our focus on organizational culture and the important facets of human resource management. Today, I'm going to be visiting with and having a great conversation with Donna Siejutt, who is the Chief Human Resources and Marketing Officer at Community Choice Credit Union, with 25 years of experience leading teams, mostly in the credit union industry. Cheryl Duncan, who is AVP of Human Resources, with her 30 years of experience with 5 different credit unions, focusing on all facets of human resources management. And Lindsey Lightbody, who is training manager at the credit union, and with her 12 years of experience, contributes in all of these areas as well. I know you're going to enjoy the conversation with Donna, Cheryl, and Lindsey from Community Choice Credit Union. Well, Donna, Cheryl, and Lindsey, welcome to the program. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation. As I noted in the introductory comments, Donna, you have 25 years experience leading teams, mostly in the credit industry. Cheryl, 30 years of service with 5 different credit unions. And Lindsey, for the past 12 years, you've been focused on an array of things. But all 3 of you have one thing in common, and that's that you're passionate about human resource management and helping your team foster a great culture. So maybe in that order, Donna, Cheryl, Lindsey, each of you just share a few thoughts about why you're so interested in this field, why you've chosen to work in this part of the community choice operations. Donna?
Yes, thank you. Well, I've always really love seeing people succeed in their careers. And since about 1997, I have been leading HR teams and mentoring individuals, whether it is from an onboarding perspective, helping them find the right career path, or helping them find another opportunity within the organization. I've really just love seeing individuals prosper.
For me, it's really about the end result and the end impact to our membership. Having a background in credit unions for as long as I have, I've had the personal opportunity to impact the members one-on-one. And as I grew into an HR role, I knew that if I could positively impact the team members and have them feel valued in the work that they do, that the membership would prosper as well. And I really enjoy being able to make the connection between the two.
For me, Dave, it's about the passion for the people, whether that be our members, our team members, or our communities. I fell in love with that when I joined the credit union, like you said, back 12 years ago. And I really just look forward to, helping make that impact, however that may be. So again, all about the people, and look forward to many opportunities that Community Choice continues to give me on a daily basis to be able to make that impact.
Well said, all 3 of you. So Community Choice is just a very progressive, fast-growing credit union in Michigan. 1.4 billion in assets, over 100,000 members, probably approaching 110,000, 350 team members. And I know from your leadership, who I'm very familiar with, Rob Bava and his whole leadership team, and the roles that the 3 of you play. I know that this is a credit union that cares deeply about people and the things that you just referenced very briefly. And so it's going to be fun to get your perspectives here on some of the unique things that Community Choice Credit Union does to walk that talk. And we're going to start right off. For those watching and listening, by now, hopefully it's clear that this Friday 5 brand is about 5 questions delivered every Friday. And for this first quarter of the year, we're laser focused on creating a great culture and the important elements of human resources management. But the first question then is, and I'll start with you, Donna, and then invite Cheryl and Lindsey to elaborate if you wish. But what are the most important considerations for a great company culture?
Well, we believe really that it all begins with developing a strong purpose for our credit union and core values that will help guide all of our team members towards fulfilling that purpose. Some key differentiators at Community Choice, as you said, that we were laser focused on this past year and in years before that, is really transparent communication and listening. To give you some examples on that, we send out a weekly survey that allow us to receive real-time feedback that has really helped to shape our culture by showing our team members that leadership hears them, of course, that we acknowledge them, and that we will take action on feedback that we receive. And as a byproduct, we've also had a lot of success driving engagement with the Cheers for Peers feature in that system as well. But we have a very clear cadence to our communication. We have a strong belief in collaboration throughout the organization, and we place a heavy emphasis on investment in team building throughout the organization. And when I say investment, we not only allocate time, but we allocate funds towards it. And then, of course, at Community Choice, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we believe in the following 3 intrinsic motivators that we believe really foster our company culture, which are mastery, autonomy, and sense of purpose.
Can you just expand a bit on those 3?
Sure. So mastery, we believe, is the desire to continually strive to get better. So at Community Choice, that typically means having an inquiring mind and the willingness to experiment, to come up with a new and fresh solution to maybe a problem that one's facing. And then autonomy, as we know, is the feeling that one's behavior is a result of voluntary choice to engage in certain activities. And at Community Choice, it typically refers to the ability to have control over the task, the task that the team member does, when the team member does them, and the technique in which the team member uses to complete the task. And then, of course, sense of purpose. And Cheryl touched on that a little bit, but sense of purpose is the feeling that one's Community Choice credit union is in service to cause or objective larger than oneself. And it may be described as wanting to contribute in a way that not only maximizes profits and achieves goals, but also benefits others in our community, which is so important at Community Choice.
That's great. And that summary reminds me of some of the comments that you all 3 made at the beginning. And I think it was Cheryl who emphasized the importance of realizing that what you do with your staff and the team building and fostering that great culture is directly connected to member service and service excellence, which is something that all credit unions strive for, obviously. So Cheryl, maybe you could elaborate a little bit on some of what Donna just covered, and then Lindsey the same. What makes a great company culture?
Well, it sounds cliche, but finding the right people who believe what you believe. I do truly believe that when we select team members to join Community Choice, it's because the values that we believe in are something that they already have on their heart. We don't teach people to be charitable. We find charitable people. We don't teach people that being committed to your work, to your team is something that you must do. They tell us that that's something they want to be a part of and give us examples how they have already done that. Whether the last job they had was, simply serving at Subway, or it was through, a leadership role in their fraternity. They demonstrate those things for us. That's what I think is so important. Their values are already there.
That's awesome. Lindsey, what are your thoughts? The importance of creating and fostering a great organizational culture.
Donna and Cheryl did a great job of explaining that, Dave, but I think the biggest thing that Donna had mentioned that stands out to me is communication and the way we communicate to our team members. And our leadership team is extremely transparent, and I think that plays a big role in fostering our company and organizational culture as well. Team members are aware of what's in the know and what they should be in the know on. And they're able to, share their feedback, like Donna had mentioned, in a system that we utilize called Tiny Pulse. And we take a lot of those, feedback into consideration when making big organizational changes or decisions, because what matters most is the people that we have on our teams, and their opinions do matter.
Great. So Donna, let's start to drill in a little bit deeper into the important considerations of human resource management. We're leading with and kind of talking a lot about organizational culture and the climate for team members to thrive and feel appreciated. I love those values that you share, especially the importance of feeling autonomy and feeling a sense of purpose. And certainly credit unions are in a much better position, in my opinion, than other financial services organizations to have that sense of purpose and to help employees feel that. But talking about the various facets of human resource management, from the hiring decision, Cheryl alluded to that. I've had past guests on this program talking about how important it is to hire the right person, because you can train, you can integrate into the culture, but the hiring, the onboarding, the training, the benefits management, the leadership development. Maybe talk a little bit about what you consider to be the most important considerations of human resources management.
Sure. Well, I love every aspect of human resources. And yes, there are some definitive core functions of any HR department. However, I think that that's really only scratching the surface. I believe that the multifaceted nature of HR, in my opinion, far exceeds hiring, onboarding, payroll, compliance of our policies and procedures. Instead, I believe that the HR department shapes the entire culture and personality of our credit union. And that's what I'm most proud of leading, is a group of people that help to shape that. That being said, one of our foundational beliefs at Community Choice is that of strategic human resource management. So really making sure that what we're doing from an HR perspective is aligning, our HR strategy is aligned with the credit union's overall business strategy. And that really helps to improve our performance and ultimately leads us to fulfilling our purpose statement, which in fact, positively affects, of course, our members. It positively affects our team members. It positively affects the communities in which we serve. But one thing I wanted to point out this year, and it sounds really quite basic, but it's a key initiative for us in 2021, is to ensure that all of CCCU leadership is conducting a one-on-one for every team member every month. Now, we know that our leaders conduct one-on-ones, but we wanted to make sure that it was consistent and consistently documented within our talent space system. And we believe that it's so important to our organization that it's on our vital statistics scorecard. And we have a goal that we need to meet monthly. I'm glad to report that in January, we met at a 99%, so almost perfect with that. But that is a really important human resource initiative for us in 2021. As we all know, those that leaders that hold frequent one-on-ones with their team members, the team members are 3 times more likely to be engaged, and they're more productive. We know it's a great retention strategy. We really want to remove some of the operational type discussions that happen between a leader and a team member, and use that time to build rapport, to establish trust between the leader and the team member, and to create that psychological safety that's so needed. A good time to identify team members' goals, their dreams, and to give and receive some really valuable feedback. Hey, and some just use it to vent, and we're okay with that as well, because we know that that's part of the process. But that would be my overall answer for that. And I know Cheryl and Lindsey can expand and provide more detail.
Yeah, let's take that one particular idea, simple idea, but powerful. And I'm a big fan of encouraging leaders to have at least a monthly one-on-one. For me personally, I think making sure you're doing it, but don't make it overly structured. Don't make it intimidating. It's really important. How do you have in these times, a Zoom call or an in-person meeting where you're really putting the employee at ease and showing a sincere interest in their well-being? But I'd like to take that and kind of pivot to, because you referenced how important it is in 2021 during this hybrid work from home environment that we're in. And so maybe turn to Cheryl and ask Cheryl to elaborate a bit on the one-on-ones, but other things that you consider to be uniquely important during this time that we're in right now.
Certainly, with the one-on-ones in particular, we really look for the leaders to allow those also to be a bit more autonomous in the way that they are set up and the content that is in them. So we encourage leaders to ask their individual team members, what are you looking to get out of this session? What do you want to talk about on a regular basis, and put some onus on them to add to that list, modify that list, redirect the list so that it helps fulfill them. Like Donna said, we know that as team members are more fulfilled, they're happier and ultimately more effective in the work that they do, and they find pride in that. I start to wonder whether or not this time is unique anymore. How many months into it when it no longer is unique, but it is the way or a way of working together. In fact, I had said to a team member of mine, another leader on our HR team, when we get back to the office, I think I'm just going to Zoom you instead of calling on the telephone, because I do enjoy our opportunity to see each other. But we are really encouraging people to take a look at what it means to be a team and who's on your team, and to diversify different work so that we can partner together. I do think that that is an advantage of some of this remote work and being so accustomed to utilizing Zoom. Is Lindsey and our other teammate, the HR manager, are really teaming their individual employees together to work on initiatives that possibly if we were in the office, we would have just taken lightly that, well, they sit across from each other so that they're doing things together already. So it's okay if we only assign one person to work on this initiative. Today, we're being very strategic. Let's get two people to do this so that they come up with the solution together, because we know they won't see each other across the aisleway. And I think that it's really been advantageous.
That was a great point you made about, maybe we're settling into somewhat of a new normal, with the caveat that we're not to the point where we can be as much in person and interacting with our coworkers as we would like. But you mentioned some of the silver linings. I agree with that. I think that the Zoom communications, proving to ourselves that we can actually be more productive in many ways, and can really learn from some of the things that we're experiencing. Lindsey, your thoughts on this COVID environment that we're in, and maybe some of the positives, maybe some of the things that'll become more permanent?
Dave, I think one thing that our CEO mentioned this past year, was that this was really the best year ever. And when he made that statement, the statement stuck with me, because I think that, despite amongst all the challenges that individuals may have been facing, whether that be inside of work or outside of work, it's given us opportunity to really be creative and look for different unique ways to be able to handle situations. Like Cheryl had mentioned, there's a lot of interdepartmental communication and things that are happening that probably wouldn't have been happening before, because we have had that opportunity to really think outside of the box and be able to make some different decisions. So lots of really great silver linings, and just looking forward to seeing what the future holds, because I even though eventually I know we're going to come out of the state that we're in, I think that we'll continue to carry a lot of what we've learned into the future and continue to make enhancements from there.
And I appreciated your reference to Rob Baba, your CEO. Rob is one of the most positive leaders I've encountered, and I mean that from the standpoint of always seeing opportunity in the midst of challenges. And so that comment about, hey, in some ways this was our best year ever, kind of helps team members realize that we can get through the challenges. And in fact, there are a whole bunch of really good things that came out of 2020, right? Learning to work remotely, challenging ourselves to adapt to a hybrid work from home approach, and meeting the needs of members that were so extraordinary, and in some ways that were good business, more PPP, small business members, more mortgage refinancing, being able to reach out and be the ones that are helping people save money and get ahead financially. So I really love that reference. So let's wrap up on the work from home, if we could. Cheryl, you talked a bit about it. Any other thoughts before we move on to the last question? Any more thoughts about the work from home dynamic? What I hear from most credit union leaders right now is that out of necessity for credit unions, it can't be an all or nothing. It can't be, oh, let's just go right back to the way we were and have everybody work in the office, but it also can't be everybody working remotely because you're a retail financial services provider. So there's a hybrid approach there, most likely. How do you plan to establish, I guess, the best fit, starting with you, Cheryl, the best fit, finding out how to best meet the needs of your employees, but also do it in a way that is a good match for what has to be done in terms of having people in the office when they need to be in the office versus being able to work remotely.
Right.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, plenty of thoughts on that. I would literally say a year ago, if you had asked me, so Cheryl, what's your work at home practice at Community Choice? I would say, we're a company culture that thrives on being together. Everybody works out of the office. We handle each individual situation separately on a case-by-case basis, but for the most part, we're all there. And there is, our assigned desk, and it works really well. Today, I'm happy to say, wow, we've learned a lot over the past year, and we have introduced already several months ago that we're embracing a hybrid model for the appropriate type of work and the appropriate type of team member that thrives in that hybrid environment. When Lindsey and Donna and I worked on something to present to the executive team, it had a couple of elements that help to embrace the culture of being together. One is Meetup Mondays. And although maybe in our first iteration of getting back together won't exactly have everybody there on Mondays, the idea in the future is that we would have that. We would have a day of the week where everybody would be on site so that we could have that water cooler, coffee break, hallway discussion. But we also recognized that when team members are able to work remotely, they have some choices that help fill their bucket, or for me, I like to say fill my heart. I've been able to volunteer more for Macomb Foster Closet, a place that is near and dear to me and is pretty close to my house. So I work my full work day for certain, but the time just to get there and help a family who's fostering children, I can do it pretty immediately. And that's been really satisfying. The other parts of the remote work that we're embracing as we move forward are some of those meetings that Donna was speaking of. We recognize that the quarterly leadership meeting, the quarterly engagement meetings, those will be times where we're going to say, hey, nothing's better than being elbow to elbow, again, when it's safe to do so, with your team members. And so we're going to expect our team to be there at those times. We also recognize that leaders have learned a lot about how to connect with people. It's no longer awkward to make eye contact over Zoom, right? How to keep people engaged. Over this past year, We really saw COVID as presenting us an opportunity to figure out what to do. And one of the biggest elements for us, we call it TED, Team Enrichment Day. I know it's pretty popular in credit unions to have that all staff day where you take a known federal holiday and set aside time for learning. And so this year, instead of having one 7-hour day, we had a few different elements over the course of 3 weeks. And although some of us were at home or in a remote location, we recognized that this type of work we do only works because of our frontline team members, only works because of the dedicated retail team members who will serve our members in the drive-through, in the lobby, by appointment, in the lobby when they don't have an appointment, but we're supposed to have an appointment, right? And how are we going to make this all staff day work? Well, we did that. You know, we took a look at, well, what do you get on that day? Well, you get a sense of fulfillment of being together. So we made sure we put our talent show in there for the second time this year. We made sure that everything from the little mint on the table to the charitable activity all came in a package to your home. And when we do the charitable activity that's an annual part of our TED, we do it as teams. So we still did it as a team. Leaders were responsible for ensuring if some of your team members are on site and some of your team members are at home or a remote location, that you still got together remotely and did that charitable activity together. This year it was a painting activity where you painted a inspirational word and then thought about who did you want to give it to inspire others and let others know I care about you and you too can still go on. So it's been great. But again, last year, if you had asked me, was this possible? I'd say, yeah, that's an interesting idea, but it's just not who we are.
So I think in keeping with some of the prior discussion, the lessons learned and the experimentation with largely remote networking and activities, it'll be interesting to see what becomes permanent in terms of, will we return to structured meetings that are mostly in person, or will they become a hybrid of in person and remote? Most likely the latter, but maybe Donna, just share your view on that. Where do we land post-COVID in terms of the new team enrichment day, the new structured meetings? Will there be some that will be all staff coming in person and others that will be a combination of remote and in person?
Yeah, so if I can just back up 1 minute, and I want to make one other comment on the COVID piece, was that I think one of the critical things that the senior team has learned is that we do not need to over-engineer everything. So we sent everybody home non-retail in a matter of days. Whereas typically that would have been a prioritized project within our project management office. There would have been a team of dedicated professionals put towards implementing that. And, you know, we did it in a number of days. So we're really reflecting too on what is it that we over-engineer that we can take a look at and just really, you know, make it happen well, but make it happen. So that was one thing that I wanted to comment on. And I'd be remiss if I didn't comment, Dave, when you had mentioned about Rob and his leadership, which, you know, everybody here on this call can agree to that. And the one statement that he made early on within the first days is that his personal goal, and he communicated this to the team, was to retain 100% of the team members. And I think
that's wonderful.
That really resonated with our team members, and I think gave them a sense of security that was very, very much so needed throughout this whole process.
That's great. So I think this is a nice segue. When you talked about the senior team realizing that you can't and you shouldn't over-engineer things, that's such sage advice. And it's kind of a nice segue to the final question that I'm going to pitch to you, Lindsey, and then ask for Cheryl and Donna to elaborate. And that is, what are some of the disruptive things? What are some of the outside the box creative things that you're either looking to do or that you have done in this area of human resources management and, you know, creating and fostering a great culture?
Yeah, great question, Dave. In thinking of terms of disruptors, this year, I think, really rewarded us the opportunity to showcase our innovation and gave us opportunities to think outside of the box creatively and really continue to move forward for our team members, our members, and our communities. What I think we were able to do is remain vigilant and up to date with our team members' feelings, as we had mentioned, Cheryl and Donna have mentioned in comments that they've made, in a variety of ways. We really dug deep into our infrastructure to make sure we're leveraging our tools and resources the right way. I don't feel like we've ever been more attentive to what our team members have had to say, and it's really opened up opportunities for us to enhance what we do, or guided us down that path and opened that gateway for us to create new ideas. We had a human and organizational psychologist attend one of our organizational meetings to help our teams identify and work through where their fears lied in regards to the pandemic. We did this separately for our leader team as well, because what we really wanted to do was A, get their feelings, but B, help them with some coaching strategies on ways they can help their team as well. And during these sessions, we conducted live polling in the moment to really help understand how our organization felt about this specific topic. I think that opened up our eyes to a variety of opportunities to assist. So wellness is a big topic as well in community choice culture and organization. And from a wellness standpoint, we knew that we wanted to continue to support our team members' wellness goals. So one thing that we did was put together an initiative of a virtual step challenge. And we paired our team members across the organization to walk together to improve their health. So again, showing that togetherness is really important to us and something that we want to continue regardless of our location. And that's something that we felt that we did with this opportunity. So Community Choice, I feel, is very proud of the ways in which we were able to expand upon our creativity. And we look forward to continuing to identify ways in which we can remain down this path.
Thank you, Lindsey. There's some just terrific suggestions and examples of innovations there. I love the fact that you brought in an organizational psychologist and that you had separate opportunities for staff versus leadership to talk about concerns and fears and to help develop those coaching skills. So important as we're working with all these different meetings, the one-on-ones, the quarterlies, the monthlies. And I also just really love again, going back to the idea of not over-engineering. By its very design, it just seems that creating a culture, fostering a great culture, and working with people to coach them and get the most out of everyone, inherent in that is authenticity. And you can't really be authentic if everything is too structured and too rigid. And it's just very evident as we wrap up. My wrap-up comments here, just to thank you each for your participation and sharing these ideas on behalf of the Community Choice Credit Union leadership team. But it's no wonder that the credit union is growing like it is and achieving service excellence like it does because of the commitment that starts at the top with your board and Rob Bava and the leadership team and the roles that you all play. This has really been enlightening. Thank you so much, Donna, Cheryl, and Lindsey.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did with Donna Siejutt, Cheryl Duncan, and Lindsey Lightbody, representing Community Choice Credit Union. I love their shout out to the CEO, Rob Bava, and the entire leadership team and the board of directors of the credit union. It's clear that this credit union walks the talk and invests in the important elements of fostering and enhancing a company culture that encourages employees during the toughest of times to get the most out of people and to translate that into great member service. So thanks again to Donna, Cheryl, and Lindsey, and we look forward to future episodes of Friday 5 with Dave Adams.